Good morning, everybody. It's Jeff Goldberg for the Sales Pro Network. It is Friday, March 1st. The year is flying by. For those of you who don't know me, I'm a sales coach and trainer. I work with both individuals and organizations internationally to help them increase their sales. And I am happy to bring you the Sales Pro Network, which was founded 3 years ago to elevate the profession of sales. Every Friday at 10 a.m. Eastern, we do a live interview with somebody who can add value to the profession of sales. And today is no exception. It's my pleasure to introduce you to today's guest. He is the founder and CEO of the Wolf Media Group. Please welcome our guest, Scott Wolf. Good morning, Scott.
Hey, Jeff, how are you? Thank you for having me. Appreciate it.
I'm absolutely outstanding. Thanks for asking. And I'm really excited to have you here. Scott, before I have the 1,000,001 questions that I've got for you, could you please give us maybe the 2 to 3 minute version of your background? What brought you up to now?
Sure. Sounds great. So my career has been characterized by building sales teams that maximize revenue opportunities in the marketplace. That's what I know how to do. The two biggest things I did was I spent 18 years at one company, media company, where started in sales. When I got into management, I had most sales. I did a countdown, most sales in the history of the company. And the biggest thing I did there was we ended up being a $500 million company. And I was about 20% of the company. I started a division from zero and built it into a $100 million division in a 5-year period of time. But the biggest thing that I did in much more relevant times is I was the chief revenue officer at a health website called Everyday Health, which competed with WebMD. And in a 10-year period of time, I took it from 2 million to 200 million. From 3 employees when I started in the sales org to 200, having all the aspects of sales support report up to me. We went public, and that was an interesting experience as well. But I've done it twice where I've taken something virtually from zero and built it into a $100 million plus division or company.
Wow. Well, I don't know if anybody else is impressed, but I certainly am, because having built sales teams from scratch myself, I know how difficult it is. And I've never come close to the numbers that you have, a 200-person organization. The most I ever did was I took a 3-person team when I got there up to 45 people, but very impressive. What made you decide to stop working for somebody else and open up your own sales consultancy?
Great question. And it's hard to do those things. No question about it. So in 2018 or so, I just said, after the Everyday Health experience, which was fabulous and the highlight and peak of my career, after going public, I was like, you know what? I don't want to work for anybody any longer. What do I know? I know people, sales, revenue, leadership. So why don't I help people in those areas that I think I know really, really well? So it was a combination of not wanting to work for anybody, having expertise in certain areas, as well as a stage of my career and life where I want to help people. And how do I help people? It's by excelling in your career or helping companies grow, because that's what I love to do. So that's why I started my consulting company. First year I had 3 clients. They all renewed, which I was really proud of. The next year I had 6 clients, which is a lot. And COVID hit, things changed, and here we are today. I've done some fractional CRO work as well as part of the consulting gig that I have, and now I do both.
I can so relate to that, not wanting to work for somebody else. And I don't have a problem with anybody who works for a corporation, reports to a boss. And I mean, that's fine for most people. But I got to the point where it's like, I'm tired of all the BS. I know what I'm doing, and I want to steer my own ship. Excuse me. And one of the things I often do in my coaching practice, I do one-on-one coaching and group coaching, but in my one-on-one is I talk to people about how you have to manage your manager, how you have to make sure that you're getting the job done, and not your manager may or may not know how to do it, and how to break through the red tape of corporations and stuff like that. And I just got to the point where it's like, I don't want to report to. I don't want somebody telling me what to do. I actually know what to do.
Right.
And I love the ability. How do I express it? I love having the ability to do whatever whatever I want, whenever I want.
No,
which is also why I haven't built out a large organization, which I've considered many times, hire a bunch of salespeople under me and train other people to do what I do and stuff like that. I really, I live a block from the ocean. On a Wednesday afternoon in the summer, if I want to stop working at 2 o'clock and go to the beach and go for a swim, that's exactly what I want to do do. So I share your.
We're a very similar mindset. No question.
And I know we also share a love of music. We're not even going to get into that right now, but I can see the names behind you. So
the key thing you said, and then we'll quickly go on, is you know what to do. I know what to do. So it's hard when you have in sales, everyone has an opinion because the numbers are on the board. So it's much easier for the head of engineering, the head of product. Why aren't they doing this? Why aren't they doing that? I'm not telling you how to do something in tech. I'm not telling you to. So you're going to tell me when I know what to do. And so you just get tired of that and you go, let me help people through that process rather than go through it myself. Anyway.
Yeah. And for me, and I'm going to take a wild guess that it's the same for you, but you can correct me if I'm wrong. It's the same thing with CEOs. Now, it's a CEO's job to have the vision and get other people to do the job. But I've taken on engagements where I'm hired for my expertise because they don't know how to build and run a sales team. They hire me for my expertise, but then they start telling me what to do. And it's like, I'm out. Thank you very much. I don't need your money. I like making money. Don't get me wrong. It's not like I'm, wealthy and, can just sit back and do whatever I want, but I don't need anybody's money badly enough if they're not going to value the thing that they hired me for. So I'd rather say so long. And I actually think, and I'd love to get your opinion on this.
With one client, I've actually done that. I was like, this is not going to work. You're just not. You paid me for this, and now you're arguing with everything I said. It's like, what's the point then? What's the point?
Yeah. Exactly right. And I believe truly that in any sale, you're better off not working with clients that are a pain in the rear end and just not right for you, because when you get rid of them, you open up the space for a better client to show up. Nature abhors a vacuum. And look, I get it that salespeople, they got to make money, they got to produce, and sales managers, we all have a responsibility, but
100%.
We don't want to let go of the stuff that isn't really working, because what if something else doesn't show up? But I'd rather sit and do nothing than be working with clients that don't appreciate me and giving me a hard time. I'm old enough and cranky enough, and I do have enough money where I can afford to do that. And I think everybody should be trying.
There you go.
I'm curious about something else, though. You have clearly, just in the explanation that you gave us, you have a lot of passion for building teams and stuff like that when you're an employee. Do you have the same passion for your consultancy work as you did when you were an employee manager?
Yeah, it's a very fair question. It's something I ask myself that a lot because, when an athlete retires, they all say the same two things. They miss the camaraderie of the locker room and the competition on Sunday. I'm a football fan. The competition on Sunday. And there is some aspects of that I truly do miss. However, where I am now, I get such, I'll call it joy, in helping people get to the next level and helping companies grow. So it all kind of comes back to me. I don't have the number on my back that I've had for 30 years, but it's not really about that. It's like when you see that you are developing people into senior execs or happier lives. Quite honestly, I coach business, but I coach life as well in doing both. And when you're helping people, and I get great satisfaction out of helping companies grow and win in the marketplace. And so it's different passions, but I'm still very passionate about helping people individually as well as collectively in companies.
Yeah, same for me, 100%. I do feel slightly differently, though. While there's definitely a difference in between running your own company and helping people on an outsourced basis and being an employee, I still feel there's a number on my back when I take on a new engagement, because they're depending on me to get the job done, just like they are you. Absolutely. Obviously, there's a difference, but I take that responsibility very seriously. It's not. Look, I'm a little bit flippant about that. I mean, look, I like to make money too, but it's like my commitment is, if I can help you, I'm going to do everything I possibly can. And if I can't, you're not going to have to tell me. I'll tell you that this isn't right, and I'm going to leave.
Absolutely.
So I still feel like that target is on your back, whether on an outsourced basis or not.
Yep.
I'm curious about your opinion on this. How important do you feel sales culture is in an organization? And How would you describe the culture that you create at organizations?
Sure. So I think sales culture and people are everything. And that's how you win. And I call my sales culture, and I really kind of probably should trademark it, an environment of success, where success is recognized, rewarded, and applauded. And where high achievement is the standard. That's my level of expectation, is you're going to be a high achiever. And so that's what I bring, and I bring when I consult, is this type of culture where doing a good job is table stakes. You need to do a good job. We're here to win. And as what I coach my sales leaders to do is preach winning, talk about winning, beat the competition. That's what we're here to do. We're not here to do a good job. We're here to win in the marketplace. And when you ask me, my career, I said my job was to maximize performance so we win in the marketplace. And so my culture is about winning and success. And so, just a tangent, when people ask me what I look for when I interview a salesperson, and the answer generally surprises them, I look for achievers. If I can ascertain, based on your career as well as the interview, that success is important to you, you're going to do well in my environment, because it's all geared to winning.
Yeah, it's why I love hiring ex-athletes. They may not be the sharpest knife in the drawer, but boy, oh boy, they hate losing and they will kill to win. I love that.
Yep.
And I have a feeling I'll be saying this a lot today, but I could not agree with you more. Doing good work is the minimum expectation, not the. I'm always stunned by people who applaud their team when they achieve their goal. I'm not here to help you achieve your goal. I'm helping you to blow your goal away. Achieving your goal is what. Here's the reward for achieving your goal. You get to keep your job.
Right. That is table stakes. We're here to exceed because we're here to win. And this is where you get into goals and accountability and all of those things. But that's the environment of success is what I literally call my culture. And because that is our environment. It is success driven. It's winning driven. And that's what when I'm coaching teams and individuals, that's what we talk about all the time.
Yeah. Well, you just mentioned something else I'd like to talk about. I've actually co-authored a book on setting and achieving goals called How to Be Your Own Coach. It's about coaching yourself to success. And I know you're also very big on setting goals. In fact, I believe you have a proven goal-oriented approach to sales leadership. Can you tell us a little bit about that? And also, I'd like to know not just that culture, but how do you hold team members accountable to those goals?
Sure. So much like, and it goes hand in hand with this environment of success, goal setting is an art and a science. It's not just a science. Okay. And the most important thing is to give your team achievable goals, because and sometimes it's mandated beyond above you, because there's valuations of the company and we need to hit this number no matter what. And sometimes it's out of your control. But if you give a goal that we all know you're not going to make, what's the point of it? So what you have to do is you got to look back past performance. What's the competitors doing? What are the companies in that salesperson pipe doing? And to really get an intelligent goal setting for individuals and team. And then what you do is when you're doing your sales meeting, I do sales meetings a little bit. I don't go through everyone's pipe in front of everybody. What I do is I talk about, here's our goal. I'm very transparent with goals. So one of my philosophies is total transparency. Here's our goals for the quarter by individual, by team. Here's what we did last quarter. Here's what we did this quarter. And I am laying it out for everyone. And therefore, when I do my sales meetings, I'm talking about, here's the top 3 performers in the quarter. Here's the top 3 performers versus last year. I am constantly holding them accountable to certain numbers. Now, I'm not going, here's the bottom 3 and here's where you are, because those days are over and it's a winning culture. And those, with the hammer, that's, I've done that long, long time ago, but we all evolve and people change and things change. So you're that environment of success, recognizing, rewarding, and applauding the winners of the quarter, the winners of growth, the 3 largest deals, the 3 potential deals. And one of the things I talk about is, and you mentioned this a little bit, keeping management off the seller's back and shielding them. Sometimes if goals are impossible, all I'll talk about is growth over last year. Because if we're up 32% but we're missing our goal by 20%, we're still doing a good job. And one of the key things as a leader is not having your team feel like you're losing when you're really winning. And that happens a lot. I'm growing it, but we're still missing our numbers. What are we doing wrong? Well, maybe we're not doing anything wrong. Maybe it's in the goal process. And so I definitely teach and coach sales managers and presidents and CEOs about goals and what makes sense, so you can create that winning environment.
Yeah. Again, I love what you said. We both have the gray hair to remember when the Alec Baldwin from Glengarry Glen Ross style of management was the way that we did things.
It was.
So put down that coffee; it's for closers.
Right.
You got to set a stake ties.
I've showed that to teams.
Yeah.
I would never do that today. I would never do that today.
And I was that type of manager. That's just it. Things have shifted over the last 48 years that I've been.
You know what? For the better. For the better.
100%.
They really have. I'm a much better leader. Teams respond better to the affirmational type environment you're trying to create.
I think I just use a different word. I call it the empowerment style of management.
Sure.
Rather.
Yep.
Yeah. Okay. So there is a huge difference between selling and managing salespeople.
Yep.
So if there's a sales rep that thinks, I think I might like to go into management, what should they actually know before deciding to make that change? Because you and I both know it's a vastly different thing. What should people consider? I think that so many people look at the sales manager and go, oh, I want that job. So what should they know before they make a decision?
Yeah, and I think it's one of the biggest mistakes companies, I've made it, I've promoted people because they deserve it on their performance, but it becomes it's we instead of I, and it's about the team instead of me. And that is a very hard transition. It's such different skill sets. It's about leadership. It's not just about your number. In fact, it's about your team's number, developing people, acquiring talent, developing talent. And it's a hard transition for a lot. I loved it. Like, I had most sales in the history of the company that I was in sales. The day I got into management, I go, oh my God, I'm going to be better at this. This is great. But that's not the way. It takes a long process, and they have to know that it's not about them. It's about your team. It's all about the team that you're developing. And so one of the things, because I know it's one of the questions, is what do I tell new managers? And one of the things that I tell them is, okay, in the beginning, this is just new. Look at those reps as your accounts. So you need, instead of $2 million out of Pfizer, you need $2 million out of Joe. And what type of environment are you going to create so you can maximize his ability to exceed his goal in your team? And so it's kind of like this half step where I'm now managing the team and I'm looking at the 3 or 4 people that I'm managing as accounts, and what do I need to do to get those accounts to the number? And I have found that feedback I've gotten is pretty good. And then we evolve it to beyond that. But for new managers, I kind of go, let's just look at them as your accounts. That's your P&G. That's your, and that's kind of how I advise new managers. It's hard.
Yeah. So I know for me, a couple of the attributes that I think any sales leader has to have are: one, they accept complete responsibility. For me as a sales manager, it's like, don't worry about my team, CEO. I'm responsible for every dollar. I'm going to get it done through them, but they have to take that responsibility. And yes, I also think that they truly have to be, I don't know if the word is generous, but truly caring, because you know, you're really taking care of people's livelihoods, and not every salesperson is excellent at what they do, and it's your job to get the job done through them, and that means empowering them and training them and coaching and all that other stuff. And if you don't genuinely love helping people succeed, which you clearly do, then it's the wrong job for you. But what are some of the other attributes? What are the attributes you look for in a sales leader, and do sales team have those same attributes?
So it's a great question, and I'll kind of roll off one or two things you said. One is you need to own the number. Own the number. Okay. Well, you know, this, that. No, your responsibility is the number at the end of the day. Okay. There is no greater responsibility than owning the number. And it's like, you want to be the guy who takes the shot at the end of the game. You own the number for good or bad. The other thing, in my opinion, the most underrated aspect of a leader, sales leader, really any leader, is caring. And it's not, how is the weekend? How's your kid? No, you care about their success, and you are here to help them get there. And if they feel that and know it's not phony and you're not doing it to gain points or whatever, they will be loyal forever. And they will be highly motivated to succeed for you as well as for themselves. So I think caring, not fake caring, how was your weekend, but really caring about them as individuals and understanding what motivates each individual in a team setting. That's what I look for in a leader. And it's something that I'm really passionate about, as you can tell. But it's owning the number, it's caring about people, it's doing the tough stuff. I always say, I've hired you to do that. That's what you're bringing me? I need to be in the tough things, the tough conversations about employees, the tough conversations about developing people, helping you close a big, difficult deal. The tough things are what I'm here for. The easy stuff, come on, table stakes, let's go. But I'm here to do the tough things that aren't easy. And toughness is another attribute of a sales leader and leader in general. This is a tough world. Business is tough. We talked earlier, it's hard to do. And you just got to let it bounce off you as you keep moving your team forward. And those are attributes that I look for.
Yeah, it is that I got to come back to the word. It's responsibility. Yeah. And if you're not ready for that, you're not destined to be a sales leader. That's for sure.
Yeah.
Because at the end of the day, it's exactly what you said. It's your job to get the job done through them. And sometimes you do have to have incredibly difficult conversations. Yeah. And sometimes you have to take people's jobs away because if you're not willing to make I can't tell. I'm guessing you've also had this experience. You know, you walk into a company for a conversation, and at some point they tell you, "Yeah, we're a family here." No, you're not. You're not a family. Can we have a family atmosphere? Can we all have a good time and get the job done? Absolutely. But it's a business. It's not a family.
You have a family. It's not here. We're going to make it great, but it's not here. Okay, that's your family. And look, I've had to let go people who couldn't make that transition. And it broke my heart because they did great for me in the other role. And I couldn't get them there. And they couldn't get there. And sometimes you just got to do what you got to do.
Yeah. So what advice do you have for brand new sales managers? So that somebody's gone to them and said, okay, we're going to make you a manager. And they go, that's great. I can't wait. Because quite often they're now going to be managing their friends. Yesterday, they were one of the team, and now you're really responsible for them. And that is a difficult shift to make. What advice do you have for people who now have to manage probably their buddies?
That's really hard, and that takes a while, but it's just like the family conversation. This isn't your family. They're not your friends. They work for you. You are their boss. Your relationship has to evolve and change. Okay. And if you can't do that and just manage them as friends, you will not succeed. So the leader at the top of the sales org needs to have those conversations with the manager they're promoting. She's not your friend anymore. You can't confide in her. You can still confide in her, but not about everything. And there's lines that need to be drawn, and there's performance that needs to be gotten. So to flip it a little bit, you know all about him. You know all about her. You know what motivates them. You know what they need. So start bringing those things into the conversation as you manage them. You can still go for a drink. You can still do those things. But at the end of the day, your job is to own the number, develop your team, and get it done. And it's easier to say. We've all been in that situation. But I will tell you, in my first sales management job, I was friends, and I stopped telling them the truth. Ooh. And our number suffered. And the next year, I fired one because I said, that's it. I was sending a message, and I also just said, through the older days as well, but I did fire one because I said, that's over. I'm still here as your leader, but I'm going to back to telling you the hard truths about what we need to do to win in the market. And so we all go through that at some point, if that's where you were, and it's hard, but you've got to do that. You've got to send the right message of, you're not going to distance yourself because that's wrong, but you're going to evolve the relationship in a way that allows you to be just as truthful as you were before.
Yeah, I've seen way too many times new sales leaders that want to be loved. It's kind of like with children. One of the big differences between my ex-wife and I was when our children were born, she was very intent on never hearing, "I hate you, mommy," and she desperately needed to be loved. Now, I want to be loved too, and I want to be liked by everybody, but that's not my commitment when I'm managing people, and it was not my commitment with my kids. It's like, I'm your father. My job is to turn you into magnificent human beings. I'm your sales manager. Like me, love me, I don't care. My job is to help you succeed and really make as much money as you possibly can for yourself, your family, and this company. And you're not going to like everything I say. Right. It's the same thing when I coach people, Scott, sorry. The first thing I tell people before I'll actually take them on as a coaching client is like, look, there's going to be stuff that I'm going to say to you, and you're not going to like some of it. Do I have permission to coach you? Do I have permission to do the stuff that you may not want to hear? And if they say, I'm not sure about that, not your guy, guy, because it's not our job to make them feel good. It's our job to help them be incredibly successful.
Correct.
And if I can make you feel good too, that's great. But that's
great. And you want to do that. But to me, I always strive to be the most respected person in the company. It was about respect.
Perfect. Absolutely. 100%.
I want you to like me, but it's not necessary to the formula. What's necessary to the formula is respect. And one of the reasons, just to tangent off on that in a second, is they also saw, I respect everybody until they don't deserve my respect. So I don't care if you're cleaning my office, I'm giving you respect. And they, to get respect, you need to give respect. And anyone that ever asked anything about me, well, he respected me. And when you lose that, it's over for me. But I didn't strive to be most feared, hardest working. It was most respected. And that's what I always tried to be, and gave it and got it back in multiple ways.
Scott, you see me smiling. That's the smile of recognition, because it's the same thing. Like me, don't like me. Love me, don't love me. But I need you to respect me. And that means the responsibilities on guys like, I need to earn your respect. But if you're not respecting me, how are you going to work for me?
You have to earn it. Yeah, you can't just say, well, this is my position. And that's mistakes that new managers make. Well, now I'm the boss. My feet can go on the desk and you need to respect me. No, I don't. You need to earn it. And you need to earn it by working hard and doing the tough stuff, which is what we talked about earlier. Yep.
100%. Okay, we're halfway through. We're talking to Scott Wolf, the CEO of Wolf Media Group, and we will be back in 60 seconds with a word from our sponsor, who is me. Hi, I'm Jeff Goldberg, the founder of the Sales Pro Network. For nearly 5 decades, I've been selling, managing, coaching, and training salespeople internationally. And I'm often asked for one-on-one or private coaching. but it does involve a substantial investment. For that reason, I've recently developed the Sales Pro Insider Network community. It works like this. We get together twice a month on Tuesday nights from 6 to 7:30 p.m. Eastern. At the first session of the month, it's you and me, with me taking your questions and giving you the advice and help you need to both prospect and sell more effectively. At the second session of the month, we'll have a guest coach speaking on a fascinating topic that helps sellers like you and me. And of course, we'll do group coaching then too. The best part is the investment is just $27 for the first month, and there's no long-term contract at all. In fact, you can cancel at any time. Go to crushsalesgoals.com. That's crushsalesgoals.com. I hope to see you there. Okay, we're back. Scott, you've been doing this quite a while. Mm-hmm. In your vast experience, what do you see as some of the most common mistakes that salespeople make, and how do you help them fix those?
So I think common mistakes are, they're going to see a client or an agency. Here's what I have in my bag. Here's what I'm selling. And they do 80% of the talking when they should do 80% of the listening. Because what selling is listening to the client, understanding their needs, matching them back to your assets, and providing a solution. Not selling them the stuff that you pre-planned. And so too many salespeople, because of their anxiety and they want to talk, they throw it all out there. It doesn't work. It's the actual opposite. Less talking, more listening, understanding their business problem. So I would say that is primary. And I think the other thing is, and we talked about this earlier in other aspects, is they want to be liked by their client. They want to be loved. They want to be friends. No, you're there to close a deal. You're there to put numbers up on the board. Some of my best relationships with clients that bought the biggest deals from me. Guess what? There's a relationship, a causal relationship there. But if you're not buying that big deal, how are we going to end up being friends? And so I think salespeople sometimes get motivated. Oh, the deck's not right, the color of the shade. I'm like, get out of my office. If that's what you're talking to me about, just get out of my office, talk to the market. So I think they want to develop relationships when I want them to close deals. And I think they go about selling wrong. Here's what I have. No, it's what do you want? Let me understand what you want. So I'm going to give it back to you as long as I have those assets, or I'm going to create something that I can come back that has value. And so to me, those are the two biggest mistakes that sellers make.
Got it. So I'm going to have to challenge on one of them. So I agree. Just like with my sales team or my kids, I don't need you to love me. I don't need you to be my best friend. But in sales, is it not important to establish a relationship with a prospect first?
Not necessarily. It depends on how you define the relationship. Yes, phone, Zoom, email. This is a long time ago, but when I was a salesperson, I'd go, I'm not taking one client out for a meal until they buy something from me. Because we're here to do business. Now we're going to develop the relationship to another level. Will I take them to the hockey game? Of course. I love going to sporting events. Why wouldn't I? But at the end of the day, it's not just about the relationship. It's about closing the deals and putting money. They're not exclusive at all. But what I find, what I challenge back, is sellers sometimes put way more emphasis on the relationship than the deal and getting business done. And so I just think the ratio of their importance to the relationship versus getting the business done and developing a relationship at the same time is what I look for sellers.
Got it. Okay. So we don't have to agree perfectly on everything.
We've been doing well, so it's good to always have a little back and forth. Absolutely.
Got it. Okay, we actually have a question from one of our listeners. John Hill asks, how many times has the lack of the support from a wife or a girlfriend, or it could be a husband or a boyfriend, have an effect on the salesperson?
Amazing question. I've never been asked that ever, but certainly I've witnessed that, and it depends what that lack of support looks like. Is that a lack of support because you're working too hard? Is that a lack of support because you're focused so much on business? And there's no way your personal life doesn't affect your performance and your business. And I'm flashing back to when my kids were really young and my ex-wife. And, I traveled a lot in my first management job, a lot of the business in California. And I'm there and she goes, "You aren't even here." I go, "What do you mean? I'm right in the living room." But she was right. I was thinking about that trip or that business. And I think the healthiest thing is, a balance in life of work and personal. And you've got to give that significant other their time. And if their lack of support really becomes an overriding factor, you've got to kind of evaluate that. And I'd love to coach on those things. I'm not going to get into it too much here, but I've had a lot of very powerful women work for me, and most of them are the primary breadwinner. And that creates a dynamic that's hard. And I've coached people through some of those things, because it's a little different. The question was girlfriend or spouse, but it works on the other side too. And so there's a lot there that needs to be unpackaged, and that's what good coaching. Because you're not just coaching about the business, you're coaching about life and business because they are so related.
Yeah. And, because sales is certainly partly a game of skills and tools and tips and techniques and strategies, but it also is a mental game. To answer John's question, at least in my opinion, is if you've got an unsupportive partner, I don't care what gender they are or anything else or what the relationship is, it is going to make it difficult. In fact, I had a partner at one point for about 3 years, and we were trying to build a team. And his philosophy was, we're not hiring anybody until we've gone out with their husband, wife, and get to know them to make sure they are behind them. Because, you said a lot of travel, long hours. Sales is a game of up and down. And if your spouse or your partner is not behind you and they're actually giving you a hard time, it's going to make it all the more difficult to succeed.
Yeah, because first of all, that's really interesting. I had never done that, but this job is hard. And you really need support because this is not easy. And, I always tell my kids, if it was easy, everybody would do it. Guess what? It's not easy. And so you really do need support. Yep. And really, really important. And that's another reason for a good coach. But those are things to talk about. And interesting question. Really interesting question. And really reality-based question. Yeah.
And because sales is hard, and I agree it is, it's why we are usually the most highly compensated people in any organization, sometimes more than the CEO.
I've said, I'm not apologizing, Ben, because I'm making more money than you. I'm not doing that. Look what I'm bringing in. So,
absolutely.
Yeah. Absolutely.
And it's why I will never work with an organization that caps commissions.
Never.
I want unlimited opportunity for my people to earn. Any organization that's capping commissions it's like cutting off your own neck. Why would you do that? You want your salespeople to make more money, not less money.
Right. It's not a sales organization. That is not their primary focus. If they are capping commissions, and it's not going to be in a great environment for you in all probability.
Yep, foolish. So we talked about some of the common mistakes that salespeople make, and we also mentioned that trying to be a friend as opposed to a manager is a common mistake for sales managers. Are there other common mistakes that sales managers make?
It's more in the beginning, and we talked about it a little bit. The sales manager, it's still about them, and it's not about the team. It's about what they're doing. So in their conversation with their boss, they're talking about themselves again. And then I know, no, this is about your team and how can I get my team up a level? And so I think it's people skills at the end of the day, and really understanding that it goes from you to them. And I just think that's the most common mistake. some people make the transition and some people don't.
Yep. So actually I have a question for you, but I want to lead with, I had a situation just this week. So I was reached out to, I was referred into a company that is looking for somebody to help them manage the team. They have a guy on the team who they told me they wanted to make into the manager. And could I manage the team, teach them how to do it? I'm like, 100%. That's what I do all day long. Not a problem. Right. But before I agreed to the to take on the gig, I said, I want to meet the guy who wants to be the manager first. Because I'm going to be working very intimately with this person, and I want to make sure it works on both sides. Again, I don't need your money bad enough if it's not going to work out. So I met with this guy, and first of all, the situation that they described to me was not the actual situation. He was already managing the team for a couple of months. Admitted he doesn't know what he's doing. He needs help, although he was actually doing way better than he thought he was. A lot of the things he said, I was like very impressed. But I realized that if I took on the engagement and became the manager when he's been managing the team for 2 months, it's going to be incredibly hard to transition back to him later on, because I've now undercut his authority. And I went back to the company and said, I'm not going to take on this gig. Here's what I will do. I'll come on as an outsourced assistant manager. I will observe him. I'll train him. I'll help him run the team and all that stuff. But I don't want to make his life more difficult, because what I felt was if I did it the way they wanted me to do it, I was going to meet with incredible resistance from this guy and possibly the people who are already working on them. So my question for you is, when you're brought on this basis, do you meet with resistance? And if so, how do you handle that?
Sure. And each situation is different. Usually you are hired by the CEO or president to come in. That's almost every time. And sometimes there is resistance because they're like, well, am I not doing a good enough job? They brought this guy in, and I look at his background. He's accomplished all this. What does that mean for me? And what you have to communicate both up and to the individual is, I've done your job. I have my own company. My primary job is to help you succeed. If I don't help you succeed, I have failed at my job. And so if I have a company and I'm taking people's jobs, or I'm all of a sudden recommending, get rid of this guy, bring somebody else in from my network, what kind of company am I really going to have? And the other thing is, I try to get them to understand the reason the president, the CEO did this, they're investing in you. They want you to succeed. That's why they're hiring me. If they wanted you out, they could have hired me to recruit somebody. Yeah. They don't want you out. They want you to succeed. So they're spending money on me to help you. And quite frankly, that's why I'm here. I'm here to help you. And then you get to know them depending on where the location is. I always try to do dinner with them right up front, so we get to know each other on a personal level. So we start building trust and credibility, because 90% of the work is just with that individual, right? You still meet occasionally with the CEO and president, but you're working daily, or however often the job takes, with that individual. So I try to impress upon them that A, I've done your job, I don't want it. B, they're really investing in you. They want you to succeed. That's why I'm here. And you have to look at me as your asset, not their asset. And I tell them that I'm your asset. I'm your asset to do whatever you need me to do to help you get to the next level. So they're all different. It depends. The last one I had, the guy's attitude was fantastic. Like, got it right from the start. But I've gone to situations where they're very wary of me, and you just kind of break it down, and you have to earn their respect, I guess, by showing them, hey, I'm not feeding the president all this information. I'm here to help you win.
Yeah.
That's why I'm here.
And it's also important how whoever's in charge, the CEO, the president, whatever that title is, it's important how they set you up, because the way they introduce you can either set you up for failure or success. Like you, I do this on an outsourced basis, but that's not really where my passion is. I do enjoy helping people in that same way, but my real passion is I love training salespeople and coaching.
Right, you're more training, right? And that's
really where I shine. And I actually had one CEO that introduced me, and I'll never forget it because it was my favorite. He said, "Here's why I want you to listen to Jeff. He sold me. He knows what he's talking about. He sold me. So that's why
Right. Love it.
He was a
So
foul language.
simple.
That's why you effers need to listen to him today. I paid him a bunch of money. Now pay attention. So
Right. But
that's setting you up for success.
right.
You have some things called wolfisms.
Yes.
What are wolfisms, and what are some of your favorites?
Okay, so my last name is Wolf, obviously, and I use that to my advantage. My sales team I call the Wolf Pack. My family I call the Wolf Pack. So other people are in my Wolf Pack. So, but when we talked about Jeff, I coach business and life. So I have messages about life because, much like that question about support of a spouse or a significant other, this is real life. So I throw out every sales meeting that I run, I throw out a wolfism, a quote. Some of them are mine. Some of them I've taken and I always attribute. But I'll just give you a couple of my favorite ones. This one's mine. You can't live an A life with a B effort.
Oof. Love that.
And I use Michael Strahan, who happens to be a personal friend of mine, as an example of someone who living an A life because he gave the A effort. And I saw it up front, and I'll give examples. So can't live an A life with a B effort. The most fun in business is climbing the mountain together as a team. When you climb a mountain together as a team, you reach out with a hand to help a teammate get to the next level, or you ideate to scale your whole organization up a level. So the journey is the fun. Climbing the mountain together is the most fun I've ever had in business. And I've been fortunate it's happened a few times. I'll give you two more quick ones. Life in business is about the 2 C's, courage and confidence. And you as a manager need to work on that, instill that courage and confidence in your team. There are times I've said to sellers or sales managers, don't have me believe in me more than you believe in yourself, because I believe in you. And, it's courage and confidence. And then the fourth one I'll just throw out to you is winners win. That's what we do. We're here every day to play to win. And so winners win. And so environment of success, playing to win. This is all what I try to teach managers and heads of sales and sales teams. Those are wolfisms. And, I have Thanksgiving messages, grateful people are happy people. Like I try to bring a full picture of life and business to it with wolfisms. And I just don't say the quotes. I actually explain what it means to me, what I think it could mean to them. And you get a lot of just good interaction, community, loyalty, motivation at the end of the day is chief. A leader needs to be a chief motivational officer. And that when you ask me some leadership things, the other thing is you need to motivate your team to win and make it fun. It's hard. We're here all the time. We got to do fun things. And that's climbing the mountain together as a team is about fun as well.
Sounds like it might be time for a book of wolfisms.
It's been suggested, and I've thought about it. I've not done it, but I have thought about it. Yes.
Gotcha.
Maybe I love that, Jeff. Yes.
I love all of them. I especially like you can't have A results with a B effort.
You can't live an A life with a B effort.
Yeah. I regular listeners are going to be bored, but because I've said this more than once, but you and I are old enough to remember the Honeymooners. And Ralph Cramden, who was a Brooklyn bus driver who lived in a tenement and was always going to get rich. Well, I am the Ralph Cramden of salespeople. For 48 years, I've been looking for a way to make a lot of money in sales with no effort whatsoever, and I haven't found that. I found a way to make a bunch of money, but it takes that A effort.
No question. No one can do it without effort. Nobody.
I'll keep searching, but
I know I can.
Well, if I can figure that one out, I think I'll be able to retire in about 10 minutes.
There you go. Please let me know.
In the meantime, I'm going to keep working too. And speaking of getting compensated, I'm assuming that you sometimes work on compensation plans.
Of course, yeah.
So, what is the basis of a good compensation plan for an organization? How should they really be paying a salesperson to do what you said, motivate them and encourage them and make sure that they don't get lazy? Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah. And I hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of comp plans in my career, and I've been hired to just do as a coach, look at the comp plans. But I'll just take it back one step. Everyone talks about managing to a win-win situation, right? The customer must win, the client must win. Sometimes companies have that reversed. I look at it like this. You need to manage to a win-win-win situation. The client must win, the company must win, and the salesperson must win. And so many companies forget or don't want to do that third part of that triangle. So what I do, because the seller's not winning, what are we doing here? And so the way I've done comp plans generally is 50% base, 50% commissions based on a certain number. Generally, I've paid from $1. I know the market's changed now as more financials get involved, but I try to pay from $1, or I have a certain goal and then you pay a certain amount over. But what I do is, let's say for simplicity, your goal is $1 million. 10% over that goal gets you X more commissions. 20% over gets you X more. So I have had salespeople who have made more money than me in Q4 because they have blown it out because the comp plan that I've structured for them plays to the upside and couldn't be happier, right? And so it's half base, half commissions, and then there's riders on top, uncapped for the upside. So, because I want my team to play to win, to play for the upside. So win-win-win, compensation above and beyond your goal where you can make real money.
Yeah. If the salesperson is not winning, then they're not going to stick around very long. Or if they are, they're going to be miserable. I can't tell you how many times I've said, you could hate your manager, you could hate your company, but if you're making enough money, you're not going anywhere.
You're going to stay.
So if you're not letting your salespeople win, you're doing something very, very wrong. And like you, as an on-staff sales leader, I expected my top salespeople to make more money than me.
Yeah. Yeah,
absolutely. My bottom producers shouldn't be, but
no,
the top salespeople, they should absolutely make more money.
So great. It was so great. Yeah. Some Q4 commission checks were just outstanding. Yep. Yep, absolutely. But it's by the
way, one of our listeners already said, I will buy the Book of Wolfism. So you've got one customer.
Love it. Oh, that's so cool. That's really, I have about 5 on my site, but it's just, and 1 or 2 I've just mentioned, but if you go to my site, The Wolf Media Group, which Jeff will show at the end, there's a few on there, but that's so cool. Thank you. I really appreciate that.
That's John. That's my friend John Hill. Who
I love it, John. He's
the trade show coach.
Yeah, I love it.
Yep. What about prospecting? Because I find that it used to be that the number one challenge that salespeople had was they wouldn't ask for the order. I now consider that to be the number 2 challenge, that they're not actually asking for the business because they don't want to hear no. But the number 1 challenge I see in most sales organizations and most salespeople that I coach one-on-one is they're just not speaking to enough prospects. I don't care how good you are at selling, and you and I are expert level. If we're not seeing enough prospects, we can't close enough business. So how do you generate leads for yourself? And what methods are you suggesting today for salespeople to generate business?
Yeah, it's a real challenge because it's so much grunt work. And one of the things that I would always write is more meetings equal $signs, right? So more meetings, it's not quite a wolfism, but it kind of is. More meetings equal more money. So your job is at least to get the meetings. And the only way to get the meetings is through prospecting. And I think AI is going to help sellers out a lot in that area as we're moving forward. I looked, the Gartner Group says about 35 to 40% of companies are now utilizing AI in sales. And a lot of it is for prospecting. And I think that's going to make it easier. But it's just part of the grunt work. It's being connected to what companies just got funded, those types of newsletters that are out there, who's got money, what's your competition doing, and going through those things. But I'll just give you a real life example. I'm coaching a company that's in the college sports marketplace, and they have a potential prospect of a tourism board. And I'm like, Rob, who I'm coaching, who's their CRO, let's get I didn't know why. I understand why now, because they want to appeal to college alumni who have money. And let's get and he hadn't done this. I go, Rob. And then he goes, well, we're waiting on this one deal. Well, guess what? The deal just got pushed. It may not happen. I'm like, he goes, well, now we're going to do it. But no, every tourism board that makes sense, let's go out with a customized message. And so I think it's a compilation of, the sellers crowd and all of those things are all good. But I think it's having goals of how many outreaches per day, per week, setting aside an hour, 2 hours per day. I'm not going to do anything except prospecting. And then having the discipline to do that, and having your manager telling your managers, this is how you need to instill prospecting discipline with them. An hour a day, 2 hours a day. Here's how many email outreaches I want to see you make, because the goal is 5 to 7 meetings, whatever the goal is for that week. We've got to get meetings, because meetings equal money. But it's a real challenge, because it's hard work, and that's where I think AI can come in and really help.
Got it. So you mentioned email marketing. Are there other methods that that you suggest today? I mean, there's a lot of ways to prospect, and I believe that any salesperson needs to focus on A, what's getting you the best result, and B, what are you actually willing to do? Because there are some people, they refuse to pick up the phone. Okay, right. Don't cold call, even though I still believe it's still the most cost-effective and time-efficient way to fill your calendar with appointments if you know how to do it well. But if you're not willing to do it, don't do it. But you got to be doing something else. So besides email marketing, what other ways are you suggesting that salespeople prospect?
The other thing, I would say there's a couple of things. First of all, the phone calls. I find, that used to be back in our day. That was the way we prospected, right? And now I tell people, call them at 8:30, see if they're early, see if they're late, call them after 5:30, because during the course of business, especially since COVID, they've become expert at avoiding sellers, right? And so that changed the whole game on prospecting. So you have to be really creative before, after, go to networking events, sponsor something at the agency, an ice cream day, a food truck. Like, you have to think creatively. There's your developing your relationships. Think creatively to get in front of them, because everybody's doing the same email thing and everyone's ignoring it or deleting it. And there's certainly effective language in email that, we're not going to do on this call, but those are things that I talk to sales managers about, and I have ways to elicit response. But it is calling after different hours, doing events, going to networking things, being where they are, and trying to strike up relationships in business. But it's hard. But I think using AI will eventually help that. It's the grunt part of the job. It's the least sexy part of the job. But it's so necessary, because if you don't have meetings, you're not getting business.
Yeah. And besides the few that you mentioned, I agree with all of them.
Yeah, do you have others? I'm curious.
I would add in LinkedIn as an outstanding way to do business, to gain leads and get appointments if you know how to use it properly. And by the way, most salespeople are not. They're, hi, connect with me, let me sell you something. It doesn't work.
It's fair. I think LinkedIn, you've got to do creatively as well, because just linking in, who cares?
Yeah. And I love the word you've used a couple of times now, which is sometimes you got to be really creative. I worked with a company at one point, and I think I've shared this with the Sales Pro Network before. This company did server maintenance for mainframe computers. So the companies that still have these huge computer systems that, in the beginning days of computers, they were all mainframes, but most companies don't have. I mean, these guys worked with companies like the New York Stock Exchange, Mount Sinai Hospital. Massive, so they would do the maintenance on those servers, and so they were selling to CIOs and CTOs, which to me, it's the most difficult person to reach. Harder than doctors, harder than lawyers. Really, the most difficult. We tried everything. I mean, I was brought in to manage the team. They had 7 people across the country. I tried everything, and nothing was working. And I actually talked to a friend of mine who's in the premiums and promotions business. I think you'll love this. And I said, what do you think we could do? And she came up with, what a radio control car is, a little toy.
Sure.
So she had a Lamborghini. a little black
No, no,
Lamborghini
of
car,
course.
it was $25. And what we did was we put the car into a gift box,
I love
and
this.
the note read, "Now you've got the car. If you'll give me the appointment to just meet with me, I'll bring the controller." We got 3 out of 10 CTOs to meet with us just for this little stupid $25 toy. I
$5.
love the
That
creativity.
is phenomenal, and that is creativity, and it's so smart because, if you give people something and you're intriguing them on a certain level, they'll respond.
Yeah.
Most of them will, because you've given them something they feel they need to give back a little bit. But especially if you've got their brain working, they're like, you know what, I'll be not, I'll be fair, because most people are at the end of the day.
Yeah, because it's clever.
It's clever.
I mean, we're out of time, so but I can't resist telling you that, first of all, we had $100 cost of acquisition per appointment. I'll pay $100 for an appointment with a CTO all day long. It was phenomenal.
All day long.
And the other thing that I can't resist, I mean, there are so many companies out there that do really creative stuff. There's a company that will inscribe your message on a potato, a real potato, and send that to the prospect. I mean, get creative, my friends.
That's right. Jeff, you've got better ideas. That's great. Awesome, man.
Yep. There's lots of stuff we could do. And you and I could be talking all day, my friend, but we are out of time. Okay. So before we go, what I'd like to do is share my screen and share your contact information. And while I'm doing that, if you would please tell people, because some people are watching us live, but this will also be converted to a podcast shortly. How can people reach you if they're interested in potentially working with you or want more information?
So as the slide says, it's you have to put the word thewolfmediagroup.com. And I just use my personal email address, which is Scott Wolf, WOLF, just like the animal, 784 at Gmail. So Scott Wolf 784 at gmail.com. And always love a phone call, 973-476-5889. So Scott Wolf 784 at Gmail and thewolfmediagroup.com.
Well, Scott, it's been a real pleasure. Thank you for your time and for sharing your genius with us so brilliantly. Nice. And I'll end as I always do. Gang, please remember that sales is a game of making things happen. Get out there and make sales happen. Thanks, everyone. Have a great weekend. Have a great weekend, Scott.
Thank you very much. And thank you guys for the